Let's get started. Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. So today's session, it's always going to include 5 minutes of warm-ups, getting our body just ready for our practice. We'll do some Qigong exercises. Then we'll move into some waist and spine movement so that we can feel nice and healthy and get that energy flowing. And then we're going to work on some movements. So let's start with our feet shoulders width apart. Remember, perfectly straight. The whole goal is to retrain your body so that this is natural. Then we want to check on the lower back. So our knees are not locked, they're slightly bent, and we tuck our tailbone slightly while we lift through the crown of our head and just let those shoulders hang down. This should kind of become normal, and then our body's going to let the blood and energy flow at optimum levels. So we'll start by dropping the chin to the chest, and then we'll just look up towards the sky. Remember, we're not pushing too hard. It's just a gentle opening of the body. Really feel that release as you drop the chin towards the chest. One more time. We'll end by dropping that chin towards the chest. Nice stretch. Let those shoulders hang down a little bit more. And then back to neutral. And then we'll come across both sides, so we'll keep the head level. And we'll look over one shoulder and then across to the other side. And then just back to center. Trying to keep the shoulders down. And again, not pushing too far. If you practice with me in the long form, then you might feel the left side, looking over the left side is a little bit easier, but our goal is to make it even from left to right. Let's do one more round. And then back to center. And then we'll move into the shoulders. So you can alternate them. You could move them together, whatever feels good. Big arm circles, if that's what feels good for your body. But the goal is to think about squeezing the shoulder blades together. Nice big circles here. This is a great source of energy in our body, and we really want to focus on opening it up so that energy can move down the arms out through the fingers. Let's go the other direction. So pull the shoulder blades apart. And again, there's that option to alternate or big arm circles. Whatever feels good. Just listen to your body during these warm-ups. It's really about just getting the joints open so that we can enjoy our Tai Chi practice. Let's take a couple of circles back the other direction. And then we'll just throw the arms down lightly. Just let the shoulders hang down. All right, and from here, just a gentle turning of the waist, and we'll just let the arms swing. And they just tap wherever they land. So maybe that's your lower back. Maybe it's the belly. But the goal is to think about lifting through the crown of the head. I'm just doing a nice gentle turn, side to side. Remember, this session's all going to be about relaxing and just finding our flow, enjoying the movement in our body. Let's gently start easing off, so slowing down from the center until we make our way back to neutral, and then we'll move into the hips. So hands on the hips, lower back, or just letting them hang, and we'll do a nice circle all the way around. Really push out to the sides and forward and back. While we're doing all these warm-ups, something we should think about is having a nice, long, even, and continuous breath. We'll go the other direction. Couple more circles. Almost done with those warm-ups. Knees and ankles are left. All right, coming back to center. We'll bring the feet together, knees together, and bend down slightly so that we can do a little circle. Feel that weight shift over the feet. Again, not pushing too far. And then we'll go the other way. And then release. Coming up, roll the shoulders back, shake out the legs. Okay, let's reset. Let's give ourselves a great starting position for some Qigong practice. So feet shoulders width apart, perfectly straight. That means the outside edge of your shoulders matches the outside edge of your shoe. So not too wide, not too narrow. Try to find that perfect in between so we're stacking the whole body. Okay, we'll start with like water's wave. So remember, little gaps between the fingers. We start with the arms on the side and we want to bring that space underneath the arms. Remember to lift up through the crown of your head and let those shoulders hang down. Really let everything hang. We want to feel light and airy through the upper body. So inhale and float those arms up. Shoulder height, shoulder width. And then the upper arms go down, the forearms, and then the palms. So inhale, lift. Exhale, bend into the knees to wherever is comfortable, stopping when the hands are at the hips. So it might have to be a very slow movement where we don't bend down very far. But the goal is to feel heavy through the legs and really let go through the upper body. So feel light and airy, reaching out through the fingers and then just gently floating down. Now take this time to move with your own breath. Listen to your body. Turn that focus inward. Maybe you close the eyes. Trying to create a feeling of lightness in the arms. It's like a wave rising and then falling down. Let's do a few more. Relax. Let go. Let those shoulders hang down. Do one or two more depending on your pace or where you're at. Everyone will get a moment to finish together. We'll sink down. And then all we do is stand up and bring those arms back to the side direction so we return to that original position. Take a moment. Check in. Is your lower back still relaxed so the legs are nice and soft? We want that energy to sink down, so we use our breath to bring it down to our belly, that center of our body. And then we're going to inhale and lift the arms up overhead. Shoulders stay down, and then bend at the elbows so the fingertips point together, and then the hands again come down to the hips. Then relax the arms, palms face up when we get to the shoulders. Come overhead, palms face together, and then press down. So at the bottom, fingertips point down, rotate that whole arm. Inhale, look up. Exhale, sinking down all the way to the hips to wherever's comfortable. Feel that weight centered on your feet as you push out and reach up to the sky. And then you sink down, feeling nice and heavy. So again, move with your own breath. Try to make everything arrive together. So we stop sinking when the hands are at the hips. And we slowly push up so that we're fully standing when the arms are overhead. And then we start that sinking down. Great. Let's do a few more. One more. And then we're going to combine the first movement with this one. So we're going to do a half circle. We're going to keep those palms facing down and bring the arms out in front to shoulder height and shoulder width apart. And then we go upper arms, forearms, and palms sink down. And then we simply return to that original position. One more. So we're going to inhale, lift the arms up, gather energy towards your heart center. And then exhale, we're going to push the palms out to the side. So staying in that standing position, we'll inhale and gather that energy in. Exhale, pushing out. Again, nice deep breaths. Feel a little bit of a stretch through the palms as you push out to the side. And then a nice gathering and relaxing. And then push out. Again, moving at your own pace with your own breath. Let's do one or two more. After the last one and we push out, we're going to gather that energy up. So we'll inhale and lift up. Exhale, float down the front of the body. And this time we'll just bring those hands to the side direction and release. All right, shake out the palms and the shoulders and the elbows. Just let that energy hang down and release. Okay, now that we've got everything warmed up a little bit, let's get into our spine work. So let's grab our chair. Take that moment, getting our spine moving. So this can also be done in a standing position, but it really helps to have our hips stabilized. So then this movement is really coming from the waist area. So remember, when we mention the waist in Tai Chi, we're not thinking about this front area. We're talking about that lower back, sometimes called the gateway to life. We want this center of our body to be the energy center. So we want this to be filled with life energy. And that comes from this flexibility in our spine. So we're going to bring our arms up into this hugging position. And when we're in this hugging position, it's like you've wrapped your arms around a giant tree and you can't quite touch your palms. So there's a couple of things we want to think about. We want to think about opening the back area or spreading those shoulder blades apart, but not so much that we're creating tension. Still relaxed, but not just open like this. A little bit extended. So we want to think about opening each of the joints all the way through the fingers. And then next we want to think shoulders and elbows relax down. So we're using just enough to keep our arms up in this position. And then between sessions, we're going to throw them down so that we can relax and kind of let that energy go. So before we get started, check in on your sit bones. Your feet can be in whatever position feels good. I just encourage you to keep those knees in line with the toe direction and then feel the weight centered from both sit bones. So when we're here, don't lean too far any direction so that we're centered the whole time. And you're going to hear me talk about corner direction. This means you're in your own little square and you are the center of that square. So think about each corner being you are in the center of your own square. So let's bring our arms up into that hugging position. We have 3 main types and then 1 mixed. So the first one is going to be turning from corner to corner. Now we're going to stay in center, relax those arms down, and then we're just going to turn. Now we're not going to force ourselves to turn too far. We're just going to turn enough coming back to center that we feel relaxed. Don't push too far. Remember, the body naturally opens over time. Let your head follow the torso direction, so just looking from side to side. Really try to find a lightness through the arms. This is one of the hardest things. There's nothing like holding your arms up throughout this entire session to allow your shoulders to feel a little bit of a burn. Remember, that's change happening. That's muscles getting stronger. But we want to try and find lightness. Let's do a couple of more turns. Feeling nice and connected to those sit bones. We're lifting through the crown of the head. Bringing that space back to our vertebrae. Let's do one more round, corner to corner, and then back to center. And then we'll release and we'll throw those arms down. So just kind of flick that energy out of the arms, or maybe it's like a shrugging motion that lets you release. Whatever it is that's going to let you release the tension that might have built up during that practice. Okay, so the next variation is horizontal. So that means we're going to be moving our torso from side to side. So we're going to stay in the center. We're not going to be turning. We're just going to bring our arms up into that hugging position, and we're going to think about going left and right, whichever feels good. Don't push too far. The goal is to not move that weight on your sit bones. So find center. And remember, moving just a little bit does a lot for our spine health. So we're working into that kind of middle back area. And we're thinking about relaxing through those arms. And we're just doing a small movement. Again, it could be this small. This is still doing a lot within the spine. We don't have to go very far. A little bit goes a long way for our spine health. It's always about 5 to 7 minutes that we do this, but it's really good for our overall practice. Okay, let's do one more round. Come back and then release. Throw them down. Release that tension. So we have our turning, horizontal, and last is vertical before we get into our mixed. So this is a circle vertically. One direction, and then we have the other direction. Now when we first start, it might just look like an opening and closing of the chest, and that's great because you're getting back that spine health. So let's bring our arms back up into that hugging position. Check in, little bit of space through the shoulder blades, extending through every joint but not tense, really just relaxing that little bit. Shoulders and elbows hang down, and now think about moving forward, up, back, and down. So if I exaggerate, lifting up and back. And then realize when you actually do this, it's just going to be a small circle. So it's not going to be a lot of movement, but we're really getting into opening up the chest and the upper back area here. So we're doing our whole spine. And we'll do a couple more this direction. So up and back and down. And then we'll go the other way. So come back to center. And then you want to think about moving back, forward, and down. So coming up and down. And again, small circle. So we want that weight centered on our sit bones so that we're stable. And this really comes into play when we get into our bow stances. So that when we are in our bow stance, we can keep our hips in proper alignment. And that's why I like to encourage you to do this in a chair. All right, let's do one more circle and then release. Throw the arms down, and we have one more variation. This last variation includes all three. So it includes turning, horizontal, and vertical. And how do we do that? We're making a figure 8, but it's not just a flat figure 8. It's more like an infinity symbol that's going to move from corner to corner, side to side, and vertically as well. So let's bring those arms back up, and remember we're going to do both directions. So we'll start by turning our torso one way, and then we'll think about moving to that opposite corner. Now again, I'm going to exaggerate. So big movements, right? Corner to corner, thinking about a figure 8, but what's the goal? Small little movements so that the weight is centered on the sit bones. Your shoulders and elbows are hanging down. And we've got that full spine movement. We're lifting through the crown of the head. And then we'll go the other direction. So we'll think about How do we turn? The other direction. So again, big circles would look like this. But again, as I'm doing this, that weight is shifting from side to side on my sit bones. We want to be stable so that we have that to bring into our stance work, so that we can become familiar with all the different aspects of Tai Chi, feeling flexible through this waist area, so that we're bringing that energy through every pose. All right, let's come back to center. Take a moment, find that beautiful hugging position. Close your eyes for a second. I want you to check in. Can you lift a little bit higher through the crown of the head? And now can you relax the arms a little bit more so you have just enough energy to hold them up? Little gaps between your fingers, and the shoulders and elbows sink down a little bit more. And we take a nice big breath, filling the lungs all the way down to the belly. And then as you exhale, release the arms down. Let everything relax a little bit more. And then maybe you throw the arms down lightly. All right, so now that we've done our waist practice, let's get into our stance work, okay? The first thing we're gonna do is a little bit of a hip opening to get ourselves ready after sitting in a chair. So you can use this chair to aid in balance as we open up our hips, always a great option. So the first thing we're gonna do is we'll find our balance on both feet, feel nice and centered, and then shift your weight to one leg. Maybe you grab onto that chair. The goal is to lift your knee up and then open it out to the side and then just tap down and then do it again. So lifting up as high as you can, a couple of points, looking at one fixed object really helps with your balance. Other things include relaxing your standing foot, not locking out the standing leg, and remembering to breathe. So a couple of tips to help with the balance here. Let's do one more and then release. And then we'll move into that other side. So again, find your balance on both feet, shift that weight over to the other leg, and then again, lift up and open to the side. So helping our hips open so that we have proper alignment in our stances to help heal our joints. So making sure our knees are in line with our toe directions so that we're healing and building strength in not only the muscles, but the tendons and ligaments. Let's do two more. Really lifting up. And last one. All right, shake it out. Okay, now let's get those chairs out of the way so we can do a little bit of stance work. So most of what we do is transitioning from one bow stance to another. So let's really get familiar with our bow stance. Remember, Tai Chi is a series of things that we're learning and then we're gonna put together in different combinations. So if we can feel comfortable with our waist turns and we can feel comfortable with our footwork, then all the crazy arm circles we do will become second nature too, and we'll be able to relax as we do them because everything else from here down will be feeling really good. So let's face the screens for right now. I'm gonna mirror you and we're starting in that shoulder width apart stance. This is your cue to step out on these two lines. So as we go into a bow stance, we wanna keep this width, okay? So first, we'll start by shifting our weight to the left leg and we turn on our heel 45 degrees. Remember, you're in your own little square box. When you sink into this leg, you're gonna make sure that your knee stays perfectly in line. It doesn't go in. You just sink in and you feel that weight centered on your foot. And now you're gonna take your left leg and you're gonna step directly out. It might be a tiny little step. The key is to just touch naturally and not reach, okay? We just wanna step out, touch heel, ball, toe, bend your knee. Feel that whole foot connected to the ground. And now I want you to think push and support. So what does that mean? We're pushing with the back leg, but we're supporting or stopping that push with the front leg. So we're going to move forward. Now, how do we know we're doing this? You should feel the muscles working instead of just moving and maybe going too far. You're going to push and support. Now stay facing the screen. I'm going to turn so you can see. It's the difference of being here and just moving. We want to think stay level, keep our knees in line, and really use the muscles so that we're pushing from both directions and stopping. Now, how do we know we've stopped? With the knee over the ankle and 60% in the front. If you go too far, you can lift your heel really easily. If you're not enough, you can lift your toes. If that weight is centered on both feet, then it's hard to lift either one. The next thing I want you to check in on is your hip direction. Remember that even if our torso is turning, our hips are going to still stay open. Now, how do we know we're doing this? Does your knee still in line with that toe direction? Or did you turn your hips and you feel a lovely tweak in that back leg? We're trying to heal our body. We're trying to build muscle. So think about having this groin area open. Now, not too much, but just enough that that weight's centered, okay? So now push forward and back. Continuously feel the legs starting to burn a little bit. Feel the movement happening and what's going on. You're pushing back and you're pushing forward. Okay, now if we want to include the balance aspects, we're going to shift back and we're going to pick up. Now, if picking up was hard, I want you to step smaller and then move forward. And shift back and move forward and feel how this is different with a smaller stance. And now shift back and pick up. Should be easy now. Then we're going to step. Okay, here's the next test. Move back and forward. Now we can move forward and include our balance in a different way. So we pour all that weight into the left leg, lift the heel of the right foot, and then pick up. And then step back, toe, ball, heel. Shift back, pick up the toes, and then pick up the left foot. And then step out. Move forward, push and support, and then keep pushing till you can pick up. So we're using the shifting and becoming aware of that weight transfer. So now all the weight's in that left leg and we pick up. Now what else is going on? Our torso is facing to the side direction. And then maybe as we move forward, it turns to straight. So remember all that waist training that we just did? If we hold our arms up, first we make sure our hips are open. Feel the turn of your waist. And it's just the upper body. It's not going to be the hips. We're not going to turn the hips because we want our knees to stay in line with the toe direction. So we're turning from the upper body. Now, a couple of things affect our balance. The first we talked about was the length of our stance this way. The next that can affect it is our torso. So if you're trying to pick up your front foot and your torso is to straight, I'm trying. It's nearly impossible to pick up and feel stable, okay? So we want to make sure that our torso is turned and then we can easily pick up and step back out. And we can find that balance on the right leg. And then when we move forward, if we turn to straight, it'll be easier to then pick up the back leg. But we have to make sure that we keep our hips open so that we're keeping that great alignment. Now our head can follow the looking direction of being forward. Even if our torso is turned, we can still look ahead. Nice. Okay. We have burned that side enough, right? Feel the legs. We're going to stretch it out at the end. Don't worry. But let's do the other side. Okay. So really just becoming familiar. Remember, it's like driving a car. You have all these different things you have to do to start the car. What if you do if it's raining? These different variations. This is becoming familiar with your footwork, so then you feel really great with the different variations of the arms. So shoulders width apart, perfectly straight. This time the other side. So shifting to the right, and then turn on your left heel 45 degrees. Look down, we're just practicing. Make sure when you sink, knees in line, not turned in, nice and in line. And then when you step out, remember, straight. Don't come into center. Step straight out and then move forward. The goal here should be if you turn on your left heel and you turn your toes to straight, you still have two lines. We're not going to end up crossed, okay? We're still going to have the space. Remember, we only have two legs, so we can easily open them this way so we have stability front to back, but we get that stability side to side with this width in our stance. So check in on your knees. Are they still in line? The hips are open towards the corner direction. And let's just move forward and back. So again, I say just move forward and back, but it's not swaying up and down, right? It's going to be push and support. So we're feeling the back leg push forward. And then we're feeling the front leg push back. Now something I didn't mention in the last portion was the lean. So if you were pushing something heavy, what would you be doing? You would be leaning into it, right? It gets the most power out of the body. So as we do this, we want to keep a slight angle in the torso. We're not going to be vertical and stay vertical. We're going to be leaning into it and keep that lean. Okay? So feel the legs really starting to stop each other. Because if you were moving fast or if you were pushing something heavy, you would have something stopping you. Right? So we want to feel what this feels like. Now again, check in on the hips. Let's bring our arms up to include that waist exercise. So what's the difference? Turning from side to side. So now we understand when we do this, we're not turning from our hips and tweaking our back leg. We're keeping the hips open and we're using our waist or lower back area, our spine, to turn from side to side. Now remember, when we shift back, we're going to turn to the corner. Why? So that we can pick up. If it was difficult, step smaller. But remember, if you're trying to pick up and your torso's facing forward and your foot's open to the side, I don't care how small your stance is. This is nearly impossible to do without kind of falling, okay? So we want to think moving forward, we can turn to straight, lean into it, and then moving back, we'll follow that direction to the side, and then we'll move forward. And what do we need to check in on? Hip direction and push and support. So are you really pushing through those legs and they're kind of starting to feel the burn? And what's the next aspect we'll include? So we did the shift back and we pick up. What would be next? Picking up on moving forward. So we move forward and then torso straight, pick up the back leg. Now when you touch toe, ball, heel. This will help get the foot to the corner. So check, how'd you do? Is the foot still to the corner? Yes, now when you shift back, the torso follows. And then you pick up on the front foot and then step out. And then move forward and turn. And then pick up and step back. So we're learning what? How to shift weight between our legs, how to step out naturally so that we can pick up, gaining agility or the ability to change, and that balance, all while building strength. So let's do a couple more. Picking up, step back, turn, and pick up. And then step out and back. And then to step forward and throw out the arms, relax for a second. Okay, so why are we practicing all of this? Remember, my goal is to have you feel comfortable so that no matter what Tai Chi class you step into, you feel great. You feel stable in the different elements of Tai Chi so you can feel what this flow feels like. So right now, we're going to review a little bit. We're going way back in time to push. So we've been working on a little sequence called grasping the bird's tail. The last session we did ward off left and ward off right, which is a little bit of a difficult movement in terms of coordinating and circling the arms. But in this class, I wanted to keep it a little bit more relaxed since we just did so much footwork. And I just want you to feel that push and support between the legs with the arms doing the push movement. So grasping the bird's tail includes of ward off left, ward off right, roll back, press, and push. Now these are all movements that we've gone over, but we're gonna keep reviewing and refreshing until you feel super solid and can practice this on your own. Okay, so now we're in push. Remember, push is with those palms like they're holding a ball. So we're not gonna be flat ahead. We're not gonna turn too much. You have a giant beach ball. Nice little gaps between your fingers here. We start at chest level and we're gonna go up to shoulder height. So we're gonna come back and sit them up and we're just gonna go up. So the goal now, you can flatten them if you want and just come back and sit them up. Just don't come too low. That's all I want you to think about. Have them up a little bit and then push out. And then flow back and push out. So inhale back, exhale out. Okay, so we're gonna do a couple of rounds on both sides. Nothing too crazy tonight. We already worked our legs a lot. So I'm gonna turn so that you can see we're gonna go to the side direction and do a normal push. So we're gonna shift and we're gonna turn on that left foot, open it up 45 degrees, and then step out naturally. I just want you to flow for a few breaths and just really relax through the body. So if we start in push, our goal is to be forward with the palms sitting up. And then we're gonna inhale and come back, exhale and push out. So I just want you to move with your breath for a moment. Feel relaxed and then push out. So inhale, exhale and push. The goal should be, if I say stop, you should be halfway with everything or all the way with everything. So what does that mean? When you're back, the palms are up and everything sits here. When the leg is forward, the arms are not back here. They're gonna be all the way out. Or we wanna think we don't wanna be back here with the arms all the way out. So coordinating upper and lower, inhale back, exhale push. Think legs lead the movement. They push that energy out to your palms. So it travels from the legs through that vertical waist movement out to the palms. Now, you can slow this down and you can move really, really, really slow, or you could kind of speed it up. It's up to you. What's going to allow you to relax for a few breaths? So, stop for a second. Remember, Tai Chi is a bunch of different things. So we have seated practice, We have standing practice, and within standing practice, we have our flow of movements that we're getting to, and then we have single movement practice, which is what we were just doing. So it's coordinating the breath and the body, and then we also have a holding practice. So if I said, let's hold push, and we'll work on all the details of it, that would be our standing or still practice. So there's a bunch of different things. So before we close this session, let's do the other side. Let's even out our legs a little bit and do push from the other stance. So starting shoulders width apart. This time we turn and open our right toes. We sink and step out, and then we move forward. So still practice would be holding and making sure that the wrists are in line with the shoulders and the palms are shoulders width apart, not too wide or too narrow. And then we just flow. Inhale back, sit up those palms, not too low, and then push to shoulder height. And just feel your breath and feel the flow of the movement. Exhaling on the push, inhaling back. Now check in. Are your knees in line with your toe direction still? The hips are open and you're leaning into it like you're pushing something heavy. Let's do a few more. Nice. Okay. Let's shake it out. Let's do a quick little kind of cool down, stretch out our legs a little bit. So if you want to grab that chair or touch onto a piece of furniture, feel free. Let's take a moment, stretch out the front of our legs. We just did so much. So shifting the weight to one leg, we'll grab the hand to the top of the foot or the ankle and pull that heel towards your hip. Remember to keep those knees together and point that knee down. That's going to give you the most stretch. And as we're here, don't lock out that standing leg. Try to let the shoulders hang down and remember to breathe. Always helpful for our balance. But we did so much leg work today. I would suggest maybe doing a little bit of a stretch tomorrow as well. Remember, we're building strength, and that's what really helps our balance. So that's a good thing if our legs are feeling a little sore. Let's do the other side. So shifting, picking up, and then just a nice gentle stretch here. Knees in line, point that down, so not out. Really bring them together. Remember, if you ever struggle with balance, always grab onto something. It's better to have a nice deep breath, holding onto something for balance, than to be wobbling the whole time and having that energy all over the place. All right, release. Come back, feet shoulders width. Let's just do a few lifting up. Inhale through the fingers, reach through this time, and then just float down. We'll do two more. Inhale up. Exhale down. Last one. Really reach through those fingers, lifting up towards the sky. Nice big stretch. And then just relax the shoulders, bend through the elbows, and come down. Great work. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed today's session, and I hope to see you again soon.